Morning, guys. I know we're not in class today, but I wanted to at least give you a little information since you are working on writing your lab report. So if you go to the modules in the 281 class and in the lab report module, you'll see the rubric. Okay. Definitely get acquainted with this and make sure that you address the points in this lab report rubric. Okay. That's going to make you much more successful on your lab report and getting a good grade. Okay, so a couple things I noticed that people do not do a good job on. In the introduction, right, it says provide an at least one-page literature review. That's 15 points, more than a letter grade on your lab report. Okay. If your boss asks you to show up for 5 hours, you show up for 6 hours. Right? If I'm putting provide at least a one-page literature review, that doesn't mean one page is going to get you full credit. Right? It's not going to get you 15 points. It's at least one. Don't do the minimum. Right? And I think you're going to find, you've done some work on looking at literature for this project. So give me, a page and a half at least, double spaced. And again, definitely the one page is not your title and name and all that at the top of the page. And then 6 spaces down, you start on your literature review, right? Give me some beef here about this research question, right? Tell me about why you did, and in fact, this is kind of wrong. I'll change this, but it shouldn't be the optimal foraging theory, but basically, animal movement and use of objects across streams, the general theme of our lab report, and then talk about why it's important, come up with your hypothesis, provide a impetus, provide a reason for your hypothesis, so on and so forth. Your hypothesis and reasoning, right? This shouldn't be that difficult. Methods, just follow that sheet that I provided for you. The other sheet that's on here, well, I can show it to you. This sheet here under modules and lab report, and this one here, lab report description. This one's going to have some details in there about how to write your method section. Yeah, I'll check that document. Results section. Do a good job on your figure, right? Do you think you're going to be presenting a graph or a table? Well, you guys talked about this in Bio 120, which is better for which. If you want to show trends, if you want to show comparison of, say, for example, the number of animals per night that on average that cross this bridge versus the average number of animals per night that travel across a log, then I would say a graph would be better. And what kind of graph are you going to use? Right? You've got bar graphs and line graphs and scatter plots. Put some thought into which one of those is going to display the answer to that question more effectively. Label your axes. Give me your unit of measurements. Right? Give me this legend in sentence form. This is the little figure 1 legend that tells you what the reader is looking at, and that graph should tell you where it happened, when it happened, what happened, right? All that stuff should be listed in a little legend. Check in the examples to look for legends there. And then, give me a graphical representation of your results, but also give me a written description. Summarize how things change. Tell me generally how many animals, photos did you get, what types of animals did you get most pictures of, so on and so forth. And the discussion, I would say, this should be familiar to you at this point. You're going to start out with your hypothesis. You can even state your hypothesis. Go back to your introduction, copy that sentence, and say, our hypothesis for this experiment was blank, and then you're going to then bring in the results and how that either matched with your predictions or didn't match, and then what was the conclusion about your hypothesis. Was it supported? Was it rejected? So on and so forth. Right? And give me a really clear take-home message. Bring some more literature back in, at least 3 citations, and connect what you found with what other folks have found. And then these last 2 points here, no citations needed, but I really want to see your thought process here. I want to see your understanding of science and how experiments work. I want you to really think about what we did, and if you really wanted a more clear picture of the answer for this experiment, well, why did we not get a clear answer? What were some weaknesses in our experimental design? And right, this should go beyond. We need to have more sample size. Of course, we always want more sample size. But how many samples? Where would you put them? How would you control things more effectively? You know, put some thought into this, and then that kind of really folds well over into this next point here is, how would you do this experiment again? Or starting forward, which is again what the next person will do. It's going to pick up, excuse me, where you left off. Right? What would what would the next experiment be? Right? And think big here. Given all the time and resources in the world that you have, right? What would you do to set up the next experiment? And then in your lit cited, right? At least 7, give me 10. I don't know. Give me 8 at least. Make sure the citations that are in the lit cited are also in the text, and then make sure that they are cited and formatted correctly, and make sure they're put in alphabetical order. Do all those things, and you will be successful on the live report. Come and see me if you have questions. Email me.